We're reading A Course in Miracles. We're on the workbook. We're on workbook lesson 21. I am determined to see things differently. I am determined to see things differently. Yesterday's lesson was lesson 20. I am determined to see. And now we're just adding two words, things differently. I am determined to see things differently. Let's read it. The idea for today is obviously a continuation and extension of the preceding one. This time, however, specific mind-searching periods are necessary in addition to applying the idea to particular situations as they may arise. 5 practice periods are urged, allowing a full minute for each. In the practice periods, begin by repeating the idea to yourself. Then close your eyes and search your mind carefully for situations past, present, or anticipated that arouse anger in you. The anger may take the form of any reaction ranging from mild irritation to rage. The degrees of the emotion you experience does not matter. The degree of the emotion you experience does not matter. You will become increasingly aware that a slight twinge of annoyance is nothing but a veil drawn over intense fury. Try, therefore, not to let the, quote, little, unquote, thoughts of anger escape you in the practice periods. Remember that you do not really recognize what arouses anger in you, and nothing that you believe in this connection means anything. You will probably be tempted to dwell more on some situations or persons than on others, on the fallacious grounds that they are more, quote, obvious, unquote. This is not so. It is merely an example of the belief that some forms of attack are more justified than others. As you search your mind for all the forms in which attack thoughts present themselves, hold each one in mind while you tell yourself, I am determined to see blank, and then you put the name of the person differently. I am determined to see blank, and then you specify the situation differently. Try to be as specific as possible. You may, for example, focus your anger on a particular attribute of a particular person, believing that the anger is limited to this aspect. If your perception is suffering from this form of distortion, say, I am determined to see blank, and then specify the attribute in blank, name a person differently. All right. I think one of the key lines here is the 2 lines. The degree of the emotion you experience does not matter. You will become increasingly aware that a slight twinge of annoyance is nothing but a veil drawn over intense fury. So you want to start to become aware of even the tiniest bit of annoyance, the slightest annoyance that you feel. Because it is let's just say anything, any kind of upset or annoyance or any disturbance is something that needs to be addressed. And there's no order of difficulty in miracles, and there is no hierarchy of illusions, which means that you may think that something is very small, but and that you really need to address the bigger things. But Jesus is saying, no, everything really is ultimately the same, whether it's big or whether it's small. So 5 practice periods are urged, allowing a full minute for each. He says this in the first paragraph. This is a little unusual because he usually ends with that. In the practice periods, begin by repeating the idea to yourself, then close your eyes and search your mind carefully for situations past, present, or anticipated that arouse anger in you. So you're not just dealing with things in the present, but things that in the past made you angry or upset. Maybe that you're still holding on to something in regard to someone or something, or you're thinking about something in the future that's bringing up. It's interesting that he says anger. He doesn't say anxiety or he doesn't say regret. He doesn't say, he specifies anger, which is interesting. We could really go into what is anger. What is anger? Anger is basically when we feel. Here's one way to look at it: is when we feel frustrated. We're not getting what we want. We don't feel in control, and we it goes deeper than that, even, of course, which is what the Course is trying to help us to see. But we all know, because we've seen it in ourselves and others, that anger and rage, they just well up. They just come up from seemingly nowhere, and you seemingly have no control over it. And this is all, the Course is a way to work through all of the anger so that you don't have anger anymore. For some people, that is not a goal that they want. And that's where, it gets interesting in terms of, the Course would say, well, that's resistance. That person is resisting the truth. They're holding on to the anger. They're holding on to their sense of self, which can be angry. Like, I am a person that gets angered in a righteous way when I see injustice, or when I see when someone is mistreating me or others. I have a right to be angry, and that anger is justified. That's justification. The idea of justification goes back to the Gospels, or back to the New Testament, and Jesus uses it quite often in the Course. Anger is never justified. Fear is never justified. Forgiveness is always justified. So here, Jesus is leading us on this path for those who want it. Not everyone does at any given moment in time, or maybe lifetime, but some are consciously on the path of, yes, I want to let go of my anger. I want to be a person of peace, of forgiveness, of compassion. I don't want to have anger, and I don't want to have the stress that comes and the self-destructiveness that comes with that. The anger may take the form of any reaction ranging from mild irritation to rage. So even mild irritation. The degree of the emotion you experience does not matter. You will become increasingly aware that a slight twinge of annoyance is nothing but a veil drawn over intense fury. Another way to put this is that we are letting go of all, even the slightest annoyance. This Course, if you want it, will take you all the way to total equanimity. And from where we are right now, we may think that's impossible. I cannot, emotions are emotions. I have emotions. And I don't think I'm ever going to be free of annoyance or upset or anger. How is that even possible? I really think that Jesus is assuring us that it is possible, but is it completely possible in this world? I'm not sure myself. I've seen, so-called enlightened beings get angry, and some people say, well, they're enlightened. They, when they get angry, it's different than when normal people get angry. But I don't know if that's true. I don't know if that's true. So try therefore not to let the little thoughts, the quote-unquote little thoughts of anger, escape you in the practice periods. Remember that you do not really recognize what arouses anger in you, and nothing that you believe in this connection means anything. So we don't really see the deeper well springs of anger. Like why does it happen? Right? Well, the Course would say it's because we've identified with a false self. We think we are this limited being who has lacks and limitations. Due to those lacks and limitations, obviously things in life are going to upset us all the time because we feel limited. We feel victim. We feel that we are not in control. We feel that things are being done to us versus that we are the master of our fate or our destiny. And Jesus is coming to remind us that, yes, we are. We are the master of our fate and our destiny. And it starts with training our mind. And when we train our mind, we will realize that. We'll start to realize that more and more. And as we do that, the anger and the upset is going to just fade into the background. And it may not, as long as you're in a body and you're in this world, it still will be there, but you just won't be going there as much as you did in the past, right? We will recognize, you will be able to make the choice. You will say, I feel anger. I feel there's anger that's coming up. But do I want to do I want to entertain this anger, or do I want to let this anger cloud my judgment? No, I don't want that. So I will let the anger dissipate. And I will remember that that anger is never justified. I'm not justified in this anger. This anger is only to show me right now that I am not at peace, and that I still have some forgiveness work to do. That is what the anger is here to tell me. Versus the anger is here to tell me that that person is wrong and I need to chew them out. Because they need to hear the truth from me, and if they don't, they're going to get away with bloody murder. But and that's one way of dealing with it. This is not to judge one way versus another way. Jesus is presenting a way to inner peace. If you want the inner peace, you can follow his methodology, and if you don't want his methodology, you can follow another methodology. Maybe the expressing of anger can also work. Maybe so. Who is to judge that? But this is one methodology. You will probably be tempted to dwell more on some situations or persons than others on the fallacious grounds that they are more, quote, obvious, unquote. This is not so. It is merely an example of the belief that some forms of attack are more justified than others. All forms of attack is what we're letting go of. All forms of attack. Any attack in any form. Any anger in any form. Any upset in any form. I think that it needs to be clear, and it might not be clear. I think that's the problem that we all face, is that we compartmentalize and we say, well, that needs to be addressed, but not this. I can get angry. I would never get angry at my child, but I would get angry at this other person. Or or if I feel anger at my child, that's horrible. But if I feel anger at this other person, that's okay. And if I, something like that. It's we tend to show favoritism, and we say this thought is good, this thought is bad, this thought is righteous, this thought is not righteous, this thought is true, this thought is false. And we do that more in a preferential way. We don't do it from a place of true discernment and true discrimination, and that's what we're working on, is to use our discriminative discernment in all the choices that we make in life. And we come from that higher mind, which has been called the decision-making mind. It's actually in like in Ken Wapnick's teaching, but also it's also right there in Hindu philosophy, the decision-making mind, which is this higher aspect of the mind that makes wise and discerning choices versus choices that are based in guilt, fear, lack, limitation, etc., etc. So anyway, I am determined to see things differently, and this is every lesson here is a gem. And I just want to mention that when I first got into A Course in Miracles, the first few years, I ended up doing some songs based on passages in A Course in Miracles, and that album is on Spotify. It's called Heart and Hands, if you're interested, and you can check it out. My artist name is Allowah, Allowah, and the album is Heart and Hands. It's music inspired by A Course in Miracles, and I think we did a pretty good job with it. It was anyway, it was a labor of love. So all right, we're gonna keep going, one lesson a day for a whole year. And I'm gonna be doing the psychotherapy supplement some more today too, if you want to tune into that. Thank you.